Welcome to the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham. In a moment, we're going to bring you this week's episode of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. But I do want to encourage you, if you're enjoying the podcast, please follow us using your favorite podcast software. And remember, as you're booking travel, to check out JohnnyDollarAir.com. JohnnyDollarAir.com is our Priceline affiliate link, so if you purchase through there, part of the purchase price supports the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio at no additional cost to you. Remember, JohnnyDollarAir.com. Now, from January 12th, 1958, here is the Boron 112 matter.
And Johnny Dollar.
George Reed, Johnny, at Floyd's of England.
George, every time I hear your voice on the phone, I shudder.
Well, I guess I have asked you to handle some rather out-of-the-ordinary matters for us.
George, they have been so wild, crazy, impossible, I sometimes wonder if you ever issue a normal-type policy.
Well, it's a very normal-type policy that I'm concerned about now, Johnny. It's the insured himself who has me worried.
Okay, tell me all.
His name is Joseph, spelled with an F. Joseph Hantler. He's an inventor, among other things. His invention is what we've insured. It's a device, I guess you'd call it, for making some kind of boron-based compound.
Boron-based?
The sort of thing the government is vitally interested in for its airplane and rocket fuels.
Oh, no kidding.
I think you'd better run over here and let me tell you about it. Can you? Right away?
When you put it that way, George, yeah, I think I'd better. I'm on my way.
Bob Bailey, in the exciting adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
And now, Act One of yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to Floyd's of England, American Office, Hartford, Connecticut. Following is an account of expenses incurred during my investigation of the Boron 112 matter. Expense account item 1, $1.10 cab from my apartment to George Reed's office. As I walked in, he motioned me to a chair, leaned over to the intercom on his desk, and pushed a key.
Sit down, Johnny. Miss Larkin.
Yes, Mr. Reed.
Mr. Dollar's here. Would you come in, please?
Oh, yes, sir.
Well, George, what's it about this time?
Glad to see you, Johnny. I gave you most of the story over the phone.
Well, you only told me you've issued a policy to this man, Hantler, was it?
That's right, Joseph Hantler.
Yeah, and that you've insured some invention of his for, how much did you insure it for?
$20,000. It's a piece of apparatus, Johnny, that he has spent over 7 years developing. Sit down, Miss Larkin.
Oh, thank you.
Apparently, it's a very complicated something or other. I never did know much about such things. For making borax, or more specifically, a compound he calls Boron 112 for use in high-powered fuel.
Sounds important.
It is, at least so far as I've been able to determine.
Yeah, been all sorts of government tests and experiments with these super fuels, hasn't there?
Exactly. Many things formerly used purely as explosives, remember this, Johnny, many things formerly used as explosives are now being developed as fuels.
Well, the perfect example is atomic fission and hydrogen fission or fusion or whatever it is.
Exactly.
All right, now let's get down to cases. You've insured some apparatus that's supposed to make boron 112. What kind of apparatus?
I've never seen it. It's all very secret.
Well, now, wait a minute. How do you know this machine or whatever it is even exists? Looks to me like you've insured a pig in a poke.
No, Johnny.
For $20,000. Wow.
No, Johnny, I'm not that much of a fool. One man, a recognized physicist, has, at my request. And mind you, this was before I'd agreed to issue the policy. Understand?
Go on.
His name is Dr. Hugo von Brauer.
Oh, I've heard of him.
Yes. Well, Hantler permitted him to see enough to convince von Brauer that he has something mighty important there. That he's on the right track to, well, whatever it is he's out to accomplish.
Okay. I'll take your word that you were right in issuing him the policy on it. But now what's happened? The thing blow up in his face or something?
No, as I told you over the phone, it's the man himself I'm worried about. Because of something I've just learned.
Like what?
Miss Larkin, this is Mr. Johnny Dollar. Now, will you please...
Yeah, I know. Gee, Mr. Dollar, this is a real thrill. I've heard so much about you.
Hi, Miss Larkin.
Gee, won't you just call me Louise?
Yeah, sure, Louise.
Oh, gee.
Miss Larkin, will you just tell Mr. Dollar what you told me this morning?
Yes, sir. Oh, gee. Well, it was like this, Mr. Dollar. A couple of years ago, you know, when I was just a kid, not very mature, you know what I mean?
Oh, sure. Go on.
Well, some of the kids I traveled around with, some of them were awful immature, compared to me, that is.
Miss Larkin.
Well, a couple of them had some pretty funny ideas about the government, things like that. You know what I mean?
I'm afraid I don't.
Well, like, they used to think they were very smart attending a lot of secret meetings. The kind the FBI likes to keep tabs on. Now, you know what I mean?
Go on, Miss Larkin.
Well, anyhow, this one night, we didn't take all their talk very serious, mind you, and that's the truth. We didn't think there was anything in it, just a lot of talk.
Will you please get to the point?
I am, Mr. Reed. Well, anyhow, Charlie and me, that was my boyfriend, Charlie White. At least one of my boyfriends. I always have a lot of them, you know what I mean?
Yes. Well, go on, please.
Well, Charlie and me, we said, sure, we'll attend one of your meetings, you know, just for laughs, you know what I mean?
And what kind of a meeting was it?
Oh, it was terrible. It was awful, Mr. Dollar. A bunch of people I never saw before making speeches.
Yeah.
Down with the government, start the revolution, you know, that sort of thing. Oh, we got out of there in a hurry, believe you me.
I'm sure.
And we were pretty lucky, too, because the police or the FBI or somebody came in after and busted the whole thing up. Hey, maybe you read about it.
That's all very interesting, Louise, but just what...
Yes, Miss Larkin, get to the point.
All right. Well, just this morning, when I was filing the office copy of this insurance policy and I saw the name on it, oh, gee, Mr. Dollar, it hit me like a... Well, do you know what?
What?
That name, Joseph Hantler.
Oh.
It was the same as one of the fellas, an older guy that me and Charlie had seen at that meeting. Now, what do you think of that?
$20,000 on a highly secret device.
Yes.
That might be to produce some kind of explosive.
Exactly, instead of a simple fuel additive. Exactly the suspicion that came into my mind, Johnny. Of interest to the government, he had told me. But what government?
We're jumping to an awfully big conclusion, George. Have you notified the FBI?
I suppose I should, eh?
Yeah. No, not yet. We may be all wrong about this.
Oh, but Mr. Dollar...
We may be all wrong about the man, his apparatus, his intentions, everything. Let me see what I can find out about him first.
Now, whatever you say. But remember one thing, Johnny.
Yeah?
You may be dealing with far more than just this one man. So be careful. Be very careful.
Oh, gee, you'd better, Mr. Dollar. You know what I mean?
Act two of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, in a moment. Now, Act two of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, and the Boron 112 matter.
Louise Larkin, secretary to George Reed at Floyd's of England, was certain she would recognize Joseph Hantler, the inventor who'd ensured a secret process for making Boron 112. If, that is, he were the same Joseph Hantler she'd met at one time at a meeting of a subversive group. Expense account item $250, deposit on a rental car. In it, Louise and I crossed the Connecticut River to East Hartford, went south to Hockenham on Route 2, then south and east on a seldom used gravel road that took us a few miles to the edge of a stream called the Salmon Branch. There in a little grove of trees, we found a windowless concrete block building, the so-called laboratory of Joseph Hantler.
Gee, those directions Mr. Reed gave us were pretty good, weren't they?
Yeah. Hantler certainly picked himself an isolated spot. Come on.
Boy, this is exciting, isn't it?
Now, just remember what I told you. If this is the man you met at that party line meeting, don't appear to recognize him. Just give me a slight nod to say yes or no.
Yeah, but what if he recognizes me?
Yeah, we'll cross that bridge next.
Stop! Stop right where you are. Do you not see the signs on the fence? Keep out! Keep out!
Yeah, Johnny, it's him.
You're sure?
Yeah, gee.
Well, did you hear me?
I'd like to talk with you, Mr. Hantler.
It is Dr. Hantler. Who are you?
My name is Dollar, insurance investigator.
And who is this woman?
Just a friend of mine.
So, what do you want with me?
Well, I want to see the machine, the apparatus that Floyd's of England has insured for you.
No, you may not. I'm engaged in highly secret work here. Work that is worthy only of my own great talents as a physicist, chemist, and inventor. Work for the government.
Yeah? What government?
What are you talking about? The United States government, of course.
Suppose you let me see whatever contract you may have with them.
I let you see nothing. I have no contract.
Oh?
And I do not have any patent on my converter. And why? Because either one would reveal the secret of this amazing device before I can turn it over to the government of this fine and glorious country.
Yeah, sure.
So that is also why I will not permit either you or anyone else to see inside of my laboratory. So leave. Immediately. Go! Get out of here!
Dr. Handler, if you'll just let us...
No! Do you understand me now?
Mr. Dollar.
Oh, hey, now, wait a minute. What's that thing for?
You are trespassing on my private property. If I shoot you, I am within my rights. Now leave. Now! Do you hear me?
Come on, Louise.
Gee, yeah.
And do not come back here. Do you hear me? Never!
Same man, huh?
Oh, he sure is. Gee, that gun he pulled on you, I was scared, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Well, what are you going to do, Mr. Dollar?
You know something, Louise? I'm not sure. But I was sure by the time we got back to Hartford. I took Louise back to George Reed's office. George was out to lunch, but I stopped long enough to telephone an old friend of mine, Lee Houck, at the local office of the FBI. Asked him to meet me for a bite to eat.
Sure, Johnny. How about the Hearthstone?
Anywhere you say.
1 o'clock?
I'll be there. Well.
Yeah, I know what I'd do, Johnny.
What, Louise?
I'd tell the FBI.
That's exact. Oh, well, we'll see.
I know what Charlie would do, too.
Charlie?
My boyfriend, I told you, Charlie White.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'd better be on my way.
He'd go out there and he'd kill that crazy old man. Well, Johnny, he just hates those people who are conspired to overthrow the government.
Hey, look, tell George when he gets back to the
Ever
office.
since we got drug into that awful meeting of those awful people, why, he hasn't even seen those guys that persuaded he and I to go there that night.
Louise.
He says if he ever does see any of them, boy, what he'll do to them.
Yeah, I'm sure. Now, look, I got to keep a luncheon date. Tell George Reed when he comes back that I'll see him later, huh?
Then I'll see you again, Johnny, huh?
Hadn't you better answer that phone?
Huh? Oh, yeah. Oh, goodbye, Johnny.
See you.
Floyd's in England. Oh, Charlie. Hey, Charlie, what do you think's happening? Who I've been talking to? My dream man.
Item 3, 7:20, lunch for Lee Houck and myself.
No, Johnny, you're off on a wrong tack. I'll bet on it.
What do you mean by that, Lee?
And Joseph Handler is just an old crackpot who thinks the world has done him wrong by failing to recognize his fabulous talents as a chemist, physicist, engineer, inventor, anything else he's claimed to be.
But if he was attending meetings of a subversive group...
A meeting. We know all about that. A lot of innocent people have been sucked in on that sort of thing at one time or another. It doesn't mean that they belong or ever have.
You can't blame me for being suspicious, though.
Isn't George Reed your contact at Floyd's of England?
Yeah.
Okay. Even his kind of dumb little secretary, name's Louise Larkin.
I know the girl.
Even she was at one of those meetings before we cleaned him out of town.
Not much gets by you boys.
With one of her boyfriends, Charlie somebody or other. He's the kind you have to watch out for, Johnny. Young hothead.
An easy recruit for a group like that, huh?
More important, the kind who's liable to take the law into his own hands when it comes to fighting back at him.
But you're sure old Handler is harmless?
Sure. He's an erratic old coot, liable to blow your head off if he thinks you're interfering with one of his crazy projects. He'd probably rob a bank if he thought he could get away with it to further one of his crackpot inventions, and would feel entirely justified. But believe me, he'd have no part of subversive activity.
Hey, you said crackpot inventions. George Reed tells me Dr. Hugo von Brauer okayed this present project.
It's a real sad one, isn't it?
Huh?
Von Brauer, one of the best minds in the country. Until that breakdown last fall.
You mean that he's no longer... Holy smoke.
Sure, Johnny. If George sold him insurance on Von Brauer's okay, well...
How does Handler keep going? Does he ever sell anything he develops?
No, it probably lives off an old trust fund, something like that. Want me to check on it?
No, wait till after I've seen him again. Somehow I've got to see that machine of his, see how badly the insurance company stands to get took.
Yeah, Johnny. I think you better.
Maybe he was right. Maybe the idea George Reed and I had cooked up, that the old scientist was working on some kind of bomb or explosive was... Anyhow, my problem was to find out exactly what he was working on, what the company had blindly insured. So I drove out there again. To keep Hantler from barging out with his gun, I blew the horn a couple of times as I pulled up alongside the fence. But there was no response to it. Good. Maybe Hantler wasn't there. Maybe I could somehow get into the place, see for myself what was up. But suddenly, from inside the building came a couple of dull thuds. And then the whole thing began to bulge at the seams, began to... Oh!
Act 3 of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, in a moment. 3 of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, and the Boron 112 matter.
Carefully, I dragged myself out from under what was left of my rental car, where the explosion of the laboratory building had blown me. Pushing aside a few chunks of concrete, bits of lumber that had landed on me. And I saw them coming down the road toward me from a car parked in the trees at the side. Louise Larkin, a big, husky football player type who looked as though he could stand a good bath and a shave.
Well, served him right. That's all I got to say, Louise. Any guy plotting against the United States, murder's too good for him.
Oh, gee, Charlie, it sure looks like he's done for now. He must have went up with the building.
Yeah, and it served him right.
Oh, gee, there's not a thing left of this lap. Oh.
Hello, Louise.
Mr. Dollar.
Yeah, that's right. And I take it you're Charlie.
Yeah. Hiya, Dollar. What do you think of that?
You did a pretty good job, didn't you?
What?
Yes, sirree. Huh? What are you talking about?
Was he still inside? Did you murder Dr. Hantler, too?
Johnny!
Now, wait a minute. You think I done that?
Oh, no, Johnny. We just got here.
Oh, sure.
Honest, Charlie was going to have a showdown with him. He was going to drag him out of that place and hand him over to the FBI.
Sure. What'd you think?
Gee, I was worried about the old man's gun, remember?
I remember.
But if you think a lousy gun was going to stop me from handing a subversion guy like him over to the... Now, look, you don't mean you think I done this.
What would you think?
No, I did it. Oh, was it not wonderful?
Dr. Hantler.
Yes, Mr. Dollar, and I want you to meet...
So you're still alive, huh? You're okay.
I beg your pardon?
Well, you won't be for long because I'm going to take you in. I'm going to...
Quiet. Mr. Dollar, my good friend, Mr. Dollar.
Huh?
I want you to meet this gentleman from the commission in Washington.
Commission?
D.C., Washington. Dr. Bernard Steiner.
The Dr. Steiner?
Yeah, but of course.
I've heard of you, and now it's nice to meet you, Mr. Dollar.
This final test, it was proof.
It was final, all right.
Yes, it was all the proof I need. We observed the buildup of the explosion from the top of yonder hill.
The proof of what?
That Dr. Hantler has finally come up with a controlled power source in his boron compound of inestimable value to the country's rocket program.
So, I am a great man at last.
Though why he calls it Boron 112, I'll never know.
Well, because it was experiment number 112 with my wonderful converter process. What else?
Hey, if you're from Washington, mister,
I am, young man, and I assure you the government will take over Dr. Hantler's process immediately.
Well, I'll be doggone.
I don't get this.
Neither do I, honey.
Well, what about the converter, as you call it? Did that go up with the building?
Yeah, but of course. And now I can build for the government a big one. Big enough to serve this glorious country of ours.
Yeah, sure. But you'll expect the insurance company to pay for the one you deliberately blew up.
Me? Dr. Joseph Hantler? No, never. I am a great man now. I am above such petty things. I tear up that policy. I do not want their money because now I am a great man.
There you are, George. Full report. Payment on the policy is up to you. And if you do pay, at least it's in a good cause. Also, well, I guess you and I have both learned a lesson about jumping to conclusions. Expense account total, including incidentals, replacement of the rental car, and transportation back to Hartford, $2,431. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, originates in Hollywood and is produced and directed by Jack Johnstone, who also wrote today's story. Heard in our cast were Shirley Mitchell, G. Stanley Jones, Parley Baer, Russell Thorson, Frank Gerstle, and Lou Merril. Be sure to join us next week, same time and station, for another exciting story of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. This is Dan Cubberly speaking.
This is the United States Armed Forces Radio and Television Service.
Welcome back. It's always interesting when Johnny gets involved in the Cold War. I'm with Johnny regarding Floyd's of England and the policies they write. I think this episode highlights that they aren't a really good insurance company. Previous weird cases have been situations where, yes, they skirted underwriting rules, but it was to please a good client or for publicity or for charity. Here it seems they just underwrote recklessly, not knowing that the person they were relying on was not mentally competent and not fully understanding what they were actually insuring. That's not to say that Floyd's is not an interesting company, but from where I sit, whether you're talking about investing or certainly the companies you trust, I prefer my insurance companies to be as boring as possible. Floyd's is just lucky that the policyholder decided that he's above filing insurance claims, as great people do. I did think it was pretty accurate for the time that the FBI knew everyone who was at the subversive meeting. But I also liked that the episode warned of the danger of hot-headed militancy, and also that attending a meeting didn't actually make you dangerous. And there's a warning about jumping to conclusions at the end, which I think makes a good balance for the time. I do wonder why Johnny was renting a car to drive around Hartford. I suppose it's possible he doesn't own his own since he's so often out of town. Although I do remember some later episodes, particularly during the Mandel-Kramer era, where he did have a car of his own. Of course, it could be that he liked his car, and since this involved the use of potentially explosive material, he just decided to rent a car just in case. All right, well, now we turn to listener comments and feedback. And we start out over on Spotify, where John writes, regarding the Latin lovely matter, some people, if given access to a time machine, would go back and make some small but important changes to the course of time. I, however, would use it to go back to 1957 to try that shelf-stable pizza kit that was advertised in the first ad break. It was made with Chef Boyardee's own recipe that he brought over from Italy. Well, that ad is definitely one that made an impact. Then we have a comment from The Lion's Eye. 2 episodes of Johnny Dollar I refuse to listen to in the morning. The Broderick matter and the Rasmussen matter. Too many tears too early. But wow, what a solid episode. Thanks so much and appreciate your comment. And I agree, those are among some of the most emotionally moving detective programs that we played over the years. And then I have an email from George regarding the hapless hunter matter. Hi, Adam. It's great hearing these old Johnny Dollar episodes again. This particular episode had in it an attitude or belief that is common enough now and was apparently so back in 1957. The insurance agent who called Johnny in didn't seem to think there was anything amiss, but was doing so simply because it was company policy due to the size of the $500,000 policy. Clearly, Johnny was a bargain this time. But the agent was adamant that the beneficiary couldn't be suspect because he was rich, or at least seemed rich, paying for the trip's guide and being in his new Cadillac Eldorado, an incredibly expensive car at that time. This brings me to my point. First, people assume someone is both rich and financially stable based on appearances. They spend freely, have super expensive cars and all the trimmings. But it is always possible that behind the facade they could be all but broke, on the verge of bankruptcy. The agents should certainly be aware that appearances can be deceiving. Secondly, a lot of people look at the rich and believe they have so much money they wouldn't commit a crime for more or be susceptible to bribery, for instance. But some of these people want more not because they need the money, but because the accumulation of more money is an end in itself. That is to say, simple, old-fashioned greed where need has nothing to do with it. Thanks as always for your great program and commentary that enhances each episode. Well, thanks so much, George. And I think it's a fair point for why the agent thought what he did. Because certainly he appeared rich, and I don't think in most cases an insurance company is going to do a thorough investigation of the beneficiary because they're not really insuring the beneficiary. Although certain beneficiaries, such as dangerous killers, can raise red flags, as we've heard in previous episodes. But as you've said, the insurance agent should have been aware that the appearance of wealth doesn't mean actual wealth. And that's really, I guess, the one thing that annoys me about these agents who sit there and tell Johnny that it's got to be this way. You can't possibly consider this possibility at all. And they do it so authoritatively, and they're almost certainly wrong. They're not investigators. They haven't looked into any of this beyond some surface level thing and their own sort of gut instinct and opinion, but they're going to tell the investigator, no, it can't possibly be that. You're totally barking off the wrong tree. No. It's like you don't even know what you're talking about. And he's the investigator. Let him investigate and determine what's going on instead of just being so self-confident about facts that you haven't really researched. Thanks for the email, George. Well, now we turn to YouTube, and we have a couple of comments. This one actually comes from the first time we posted the Latin Lovely Matter, but I will go ahead and read it now, since we just played it recently. I'm just going to refer to him as Juanito Peso from now on. Thanks so much. Appreciate the comment from Maury. And then we have a comment from a listener regarding the Happy Family Matter, and he writes, no, this one didn't do much for me except for the superb acting. It seems to me that yours truly, Johnny Dollar, is getting long in the tooth after a 12 or so year run so far, and we still have 2 more actors to go through. I really don't know how they will do it. At this point, that's the big mystery for me. This is beating an almost dead horse. The glory days are way behind us at this point. Sure, they come up with something compelling every so often, but there's only so much an insurance investigator can investigate and keep it fresh. While I do think that in some ways the quality of the show suffers after the first year, particularly of Bailey's self-contained episodes, there's still a lot to enjoy about the series. Mainly, it's the sort of character moments and the quirkiness that gets worked into the stories, as well as some of the continuity, which is still very unusual in the detective genre at the time. And I will say that if you're a program that's continuing to be on the air and draw an audience, you're doing something right in the late 1950s. Because I've heard enough of the late 50s detective programs, things like Police Blotter or Indictment, which had some solid entertainment value but did not end up lasting as long as Johnny Dollar. So while I hear your concern about quality, and I think there's definite issues that you can raise, and we talk about them as we go through the show, there are definitely things that kept people listening as the show continued to be on the air for another 4+ years. Then we have a couple comments on YouTube regarding Hot Copy. This one comes from Melanie. Thanks for playing Hot Copy and for introducing us to Hot Copy Radio Theater, Adam. Always love to hear original old-time radio, but it's a treat to hear recreations, especially of shows, episodes that are otherwise lost. Already listening to Hot Copy Radio Theater. Well, thanks so much, Melanie. And then we have this one from Betsy. And again, this is regarding the episode Smooth as Silk. Interesting. I enjoyed this. Anne and her pal are not the brightest bulbs, but fun. Well, thanks so much. Appreciate the comment, Betsy. And I would not make any judgments about Hot Copy or about Anne or Sprightly for that matter based on that particular episode. One thing, when I was emailing with Jim Goodluck, who is the producer-director of the Hot Copy Radio Theater, he made the point that he noticed in scripts that, in particular when it came to Sprightly Pool, that Nelson Bond couldn't quite decide whether Sprightly was a smart girl or a dumb girl. So she might be really smart in one episode and then be really dumb in the next. I don't think there was quite that variation with Anne Rogers, but in Smooth as Silk, she and Sprightly had to get themselves kidnapped by a criminal pretending to be a government agent and taking them down to the store. It was very shady and an obvious trap, even if you weren't just looking at it through plot mechanics viewpoint, but it's a case where the writer needed them to fall for the trap so they could get tied up and make the clever escape. So as good a writer as Nelson Bond was, he could kind of succumb to those sort of shortcuts. But I've heard a lot of episodes of Hot Copy Radio Theater, and in general, I think Anne is quite a bit brighter than we heard in that particular episode. All right, well, now it's time to thank our Patreon supporter of the day, and I want to go ahead and thank Robert, Patreon supporter since August 2016, currently supporting the podcast at the Shamus level of $4 or more per month. Thanks so much for your support, Robert. And that will do it for today. If you're enjoying the podcast, please follow us using your favorite podcast software. If you're enjoying the podcast, be sure to follow or subscribe to us using your favorite podcast software. We'll be back next Friday with another episode of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. But join us back here tomorrow for Dragnet, where...
Yeah? Police officers. Your name Henry Ross?
Get out of here! Get out!
All right, come on.
All right. What is it? What do you want?
Ben?
Yeah,
I got him.
What is this? You guys really cops?
All right, come on, get up.
No fooling. No fooling. You really cops? I thought you were faking.
We showed you our identification at the door.
I thought you were faking. That's the truth. There's a couple of guys out to muss me up. I thought you were them.
Is your name Henry Ross?
Yeah, that's right. I thought you were one of those moochers I had a fight with in the bar the other night. Said he's going to get a pal and come back in and take care of me.
Yeah?
Yeah. I got no reason to fight with cops. I didn't do my room any good.
I hope you'll be with us then. In the meantime, send your comments to box13@greatdetectives.net. Follow us on Twitter @Radio Detectives and check us out on Instagram, instagram.com/Great Detectives. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham, signing off.